graduate of the last decade is Jason Gentry. He is graduated from electrical and computer engineering in 2000. And I didn't join CSU until 2001, so I didn't have a chance to have Jason in any classes. But he was one of the first people that I met as department head. And I was just completely amazed with his enthusiasm and his engagement with our department and with the college. He comes to the senior design lectures. He teaches the students about resume writing skills. He's been active in our advising, so being an industrial member for our advising for our students. He's also been a member of our EC Industrial Advisory Board. So it's just been phenomenal. And sort of keeping up with the theme of other electrical and computer engineering graduates, he is also married to an alumnus from ECE. So I guess, so if we're 8% women, and then the other 8% of the men are married to them, and the other 84%, I guess they're all single. Jason, in addition to his engagement with CSU, I mean, he's had a great technical career. He's a technical lead for Avago, and has had a number of patents and a number of awards. But we do have to do something about all of these acronyms with ECEs. You know, we talk about these ASICs and these RTLs, and nobody else knows what we're talking about. But just to be clear, this one comment in here, Gentry is considered the foremost expert in Tickle. That doesn't have anything to do with his two young sons. That really is a real honor, right? I guess he can tell us about it if he wants to. So, congratulations, Jason.
Thank you very much. I mean, this, like, forget somebody else who also said, you know, being able to be considered in the same group of folks that talked today, just, you know, being able to read through the biographical information, it really is an honor to be awarded up here in the likes of these folks. This is quite a bit bigger group than I'm used to talking to when I'm talking to the ECE class, the senior design class, and surprisingly everybody's awake. I'll give you a quick background. So I grew up in a small town called Sterling, Colorado. It's northeast. Not very many people know about it. It's basically in Nebraska. Not quite, still Colorado. People say, oh, you're from Colorado, you must ski all the time. Well, if you know Sterling, there's no hills. We basically have a couple sand dunes, and that's what our mountains are. So, growing up, I didn't know what an engineer was. It was maybe about high school when I started thinking about careers, and my mom said, you should be an electrician. They make good money. You know, they make really good funds for themselves. Okay, and then that was, I think, senior year that one of my teachers came to me and said, you know, you're really good at math and science. You should consider engineering. And of course, I'm thinking, you need to be good at math and science to drive a train? That doesn't make any sense. So I started researching a little bit, what does an electrical engineer do? Well, stepping back a minute, so my mom wanted me to be an electrician, and math teacher said engineer, so electrician, engineer, electrical engineer. That is how I chose to be an electrical engineer. When I reflect back on my childhood, though, I was an engineer from the very beginning, even though I didn't know the definition. There was something that my friends always joked about, which is gentry rigging things. I would always come up with some way to put something together or make something better than it was. So I truly was an engineer from the very beginning. I just didn't know it yet. I'd like to start out, or maybe also acknowledge the CSU electrical and computer engineering staff and faculty. They really are world class. Even though the landscape has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, it's still very apparent that they are very concerned with their students. And not only the graduate students and the doctoral students, but also the underclassmen. They're really doing their best to get them the best education possible. So this brings to mind one of my fondest memories while I was at CSU. I was involved in the IEEE student body, and as an officer, they wanted us to get our pictures taken for, I forget what they were putting together, but they wanted a photo opportunity for us. So we were out there in the lagoon getting everything set up, And this is about the time when the cell phones were getting smaller, but one of the guys, and he still had one of these brick phones, these huge phones, right? Well, the photographer was over there, adjusting his camera, getting it all ready, and Mike Young, he decides, I don't want this to be in the photo. So he hawks it really quick, to get it over by his coat. His aim was really horrible, as there's not a lot of athletes in electrical and computer engineering. Nails the photographer right in the head. I remember the photographer looks up, he's like, "What are you doing?" So I always look back on that fondly. I'd also like to thank Avago Management. As Tony mentioned, I do try to stay very involved with the students, given that I work right here in Fort Collins. It is very convenient, but if it weren't for the support from them, I wouldn't be able to do that. Being able to take the time away from my busy career, everyday life is very busy there, but they do allow me to take time off to go speak with the students, be involved with the students. I'd also like to thank one guy in particular, one of my coworkers, a guy by the name of Gordon Motley. A couple of you do know him. He has kind of been one of my mentors when it came to recruiting. I knew I wanted to stay involved with the college when I graduated, and so talking to him as one of the main CSU recruiters, I just asked him how could I be involved. One of the nice things about Gordon is he truly is dedicated to the students. He's always trying to figure out a way to get back into the classroom, how to appeal to the students, because you can go and talk to the senior design class, and really, I was kind of joking, but a lot of them do fall asleep. If you can keep half the class awake, you're doing good. And I think we probably get about 75% of the class, so I think we do appeal to them. Even when Avago was laying off people, he was still looking for ways to get back into the classroom, teach them the skills that they need to compete in a very bad economic climate, whether it be resume workshops or interview skills. So he really is to be applauded for that. I'd also like to thank my parents who are in the audience today. Keith Gentry was my elementary school principal, and Kay Gentry was my third grade teacher. So, as you can imagine, it was kind of hard to from your parents when you got in trouble. And I'll have you know, the one time I did get in trouble, it wasn't my fault. So, I'd also like to thank my wife. I don't know if she's still in the back or if she's trying to warm up. Oh, there she is. As Tony mentioned, she graduated a year before I did, in 1999. It's probably fortunate that she did graduate before I did, because had we been competing for grades, she probably would have won, and it probably wouldn't have been very good for our relationship. So it probably worked out very well. In closing, I would like to maybe give a word of advice to the engineering students. Maybe you can take this back and tell your buddies. I remember 10 years ago, as a student ambassador, I was sitting in the audience looking up at the award recipients, thinking to myself, what do I need to do to be up there? How does my career have to progress to be honored in such a way? And one thing that has worked for me is a concept that Gordon and myself talk about when we give a presentation to the senior design students, and that's the difference between criticism and innovation. Criticism is real easy. You look at a situation and this stinks. I do not like what's going on here. Take, for instance, the labs that pretty much everybody has to do. I remember going in there and saying, these are such a waste of time. They're not teaching me anything. They're not applicable to anything I'm doing right now. Why do I have to do these? It's really easy to stop right there and just, okay, this is horrible. Well, I'm just going to do it. What I've made a career out of at Avago is taking it to the next level, which is to innovate. Look at something, recognize that it's not what you want or not as good as it can be, and then go and do something about it. So I've done this pretty much throughout my career, and the nice thing about it is not only does it help me, but it helps all of my fellow coworkers, and as a lab, we're that much more productive and that much more optimal. So going back to the lab, maybe you can work with your instructors. Maybe there is a way to make it more applicable to what you're doing. So I urge you to look at ways to innovate, not be satisfied with what you have, look to optimize, and hopefully you'll be very successful. Again, thank you. This really is an honor.